Hello, and welcome to another episode of Super Pros Bros. I'm Player 1 Ike, and with me as always is...
Player 2, Eli, and Rosiah. Did you know this podcast is available on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify?
I did not, Marco Brolo. Are those the same places they could... comment?
Share?
And subscribe?
It sure is.
Well, that is nifty.
Don't pat yourself on the back too hard there, buddy.
It's all coming together. So, Mine Broskinkowski, what do we have on the docket to speak about this week?
This week?
This week?
Well, Rosiah, there's been a little cartoon that I know both of us have watched and had a bit of a giggle at. I'm, of course, because I had to narrow this down, talking about Inside Job.
Indeed. Inside Job, for those of you that don't know, is a political satire cartoon on Netflix.
Yeah, and it primarily pokes a lot of fun at conspiracy theories and basically like, what if they were all real? Yeah. And managed in some kind of, I don't know, puts me in mind of like Dilbert in terms of just like office dysfunction.
Yeah. It very much does that. It does, I think, the only kind of... Well, I guess we're going to do positives and negatives because this is a review, so I'll leave the criticisms for later, unless we want to start off. Do you want to start out with criticisms this time, or
we can do that, sure.
Let's start off with the ugly beaten bat and then give it some nice cake.
Yeah.
So, for me, the kind of problems with the show, other than, this is a comedy, so storyline is kind of like superfluous.
Yeah, it gets really to be a little more lax in that regard.
Yeah, I very much give it like a wide berth. I think one of the only things I was noticing, I've been rewatching it way too much because there's too many great moments from it that I just can't stop chuckling at. But it really is left leaning. Whoever made this is definitely on the blue side of the aisle, or farther down it, which I think is fine, but it does show in little ways at times, or sometimes in big ways, and just like the way it's kind of couched is very, kind of, there's a lot of making fun of predominantly the right, and some of the writing, it's a little bit more egregious towards the right than it is towards the left. It does poke fun at the left here and there, like in little bits, but I feel like by and large it kind of pokes a little bit more fun at the right. But I mean, like
I would
the kind of
do it to themselves sometimes, but
yeah. But I mean, I do think part of that is that generally speaking, more conspiracy theories come from the right than do from the left. Although the ones that do come from the left, I think they do make fun of pretty well in this episode.
Yeah, there is. If you have an outlandish theory, we're gonna poke some fucking fun at it. Like,
yeah.
And I do appreciate the unilaterally of that regard, but I would agree that clearly most of the kind of social messaging they want to push is very, very progressive.
Yeah.
Kind of despite the set of the show in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Do you more criticisms you want to levy, or do you want to kind of go back and forth here?
I mean, so, some of it is, story structure. I'm kind of just like coming off the hip because most of what I have to say is positive. It's not like an overwhelming, kind of glow about it, but it's mostly positive. But the negatives I have to say is that it is like very left leaning. So that is kind of like, if you're somebody that was looking for fun and didn't want to hear any political like leanings in your media, this might not be for you.
Not happening on this show.
Yeah.
I will say to that, it's not too much. It isn't too in your face that you can't just kind of enjoy it, but it is absolutely
I don't think so. It like that's also hard for us to say because we're both kind of left leaning.
That's fair.
So, but I do think outside of that and like story, which again, it's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon
just
comedy.
trying to. Yeah, it's a cartoon comedy that's not trying to take itself too seriously. That being said, I think it does like a fine enough job, and it has some like big, moments. Mm-hmm. I think maybe it reaches a little, not too far, but like bordering on too far when it does try to get like story-y at times. But I think by and large they pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's kind of what I'm coming up with at the moment. Let me see if I can think of anything else. What do you got as a
So
gripe?
I'd make a point that there's, and maybe this is just kind of like, it's not super relevant, but like there's a decent amount of kind of character growth given for Reagan, who's the main character, and there isn't sort of the same bit of attention paid to most of the other people. Even like Brett, who it feels like should kind of get some more love put his way, I think, in terms of growth or character growth. And again, it gets a bit of a pass because it's a fucking cartoon comedy. Like, you're not really coming here looking for critical, story-driven stuff. You're not. If you are just setting yourself up for a bad time. But
You're
it's
looking in the wrong place for the right things.
but it feels like there's a couple easy opportunities to do some stuff with him and shift him a little bit and see him kind of grow in the right direction. Maybe.
I mean, he kind of gets like one episode.
He does, but even then, it doesn't result in anything. I feel like.
It doesn't result in anything tangible, but I think it would be interesting to go back through and look with like a magnifying glass and see if his character kind of changes at all.
Sure.
I think this one. Okay, so are we done with the, ugly wiffle ball bat this episode? 'Cause it sounds like we're trending towards positivity at this point. At least I am.
Trying to think if there's anything else I can slap this was ugly bat on. Honestly, I just kind of like the show.
Yeah.
It's very hard not to enjoy it.
No, it's super fun. This one, it's kind of interesting. There's a criticism I had for Peacemaker that was like it kind of brought up things and then walked away from them, but it did it in a way that was kind of like, wait, what? Where this one, I feel like it kind of brings stuff up in passing that it works better. Like when they talk about like therapy and stuff like that, it kind of juts at the right angle for me. Mild pun intended. Where like, just like talks about like it shows this character having problem hugging or like, and it brings up why. Sometimes it doesn't bring up why, but like you see it and you're just like, oh,
so
it's the right amount of time for me.
Kind of funny thing on a rewatch, that sets up like she doesn't want to hug people. In the in the episode before, she uses her clone hand to shake JR's hand at the end of the episode. She doesn't actually touch him.
Oh wow! I didn't realize that. That's so cool.
There's a few little subtleties like that. I'm like, huh. It's kind of funny. Like, I don't think she actually touches anybody except her dad.
Yeah. And even then, like, they don't hug ever.
Yeah, like...
I mean, they do a court-appointed hug once or something.
Yeah, like, and actually, I'm sorry, the only other time she touches someone is in, like, episode 1, because Brett, like, gives her a piggyback ride, because she's dying on the stairs.
Yeah. Yeah. And the mission's at hand and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. It's clearly more function rather than, like, any kind of emotional impact.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun subtlety and nuance upon rewatch. Little things, either comedically or, mild emotional growth of characters, stuff like that. And I think the characters do, and maybe it kind of comes all at once, but they do kind of grow by the end of the season to become more familial. Mm-hmm. Like the core group kind of starts to understand each other better and like treat each other nicer in little ways.
Yeah.
I think that might be kind of a little more compiled than just the last episode, but
sure.
I think by and large there's like little things that changes. But again, one, it's mostly about one character. Like the predominant story focus is about Reagan, and she does change, grow, get better, and see things differently. There's a lot of great metaphors. Like at one point, there's this episode that has a Bond-esque quasi-antagonist who, like, she's having a tough time breaking up with, which is a good meta-commentary on male and female dynamics in, like, our current social ecosystem. But then also, like, to finally dump him, she has to, like, pretend she's dead. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
So she ends up going to the old villain's lair where they first met, strapping to him table so she can have like the talk with him and break up with him. he won't listen to it. Another great metaphor. And she's like, I have to be the bad guy. And then she looks at herself, and she's ended up dressing up as the bad guy that they had come there initially to defeat at the beginning of the episode. It's just like, it's such great, like, metaphorical staging. It's just like, it's kind of awesome. It's like hokey, but at the same time, it's got great, like, character, relevance, and also, like, as a metaphor for the audience to understand. It's like, oh wow, like, that makes sense. It's kind of great.
I love in that conversation as she's talking to him and explaining herself. He's like, "Stop, please! I can't take it." Or, "What is this?" This is an actual conversation. It's torture.
Yeah. And I mean, that's another great thing is, like, this show does the right amount of ham with, like, vegetables. It just, like, it goes, like, to 11 with some of these, like, hokey things, and then it has these, like, not hard-hitting moments, but moments of kind of, like, the right amount of clarity for the audience where it doesn't, like, it doesn't record scratch stop moving the plot along, but it kind of, like, pulls away the comedy shaders for a second so you can kind of see something while still, like, occasionally being funny and, like, making sense. Yeah. It's a really good, like, dance that they do, like, pretty well when they want to, which is kind of fun.
It does a pretty good job injecting fairly somber talking points under the guise of comedy. Yeah, because, like, even then, it's like that has a serious note to it. It's like, yeah, this is what an actual conversation looks like, and it's like, oh, it's terrible. Like, but the line immediately following and just fucking hams it back up.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, it's like doing this, like, perfect, like, juggling, like, mixture of, like, jokey joke, little bit of, sincerity, jokey joke.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just gotta take a moment and appreciate the wonderful innocence that is Brett Hand in the show.
Oh, no, he's I like
a
Reagan.
Person.
Yeah. Basically, like, I like Reagan. I love Brett Hand. Just, there's so many great moments where he's like, so did you ever see that show? I think it was like Lie to Me.
No.
Okay, so there was this character on it that, like, the show was all about lying and how you could tell somebody's lying, and, like, then it went to, like, Scooby-Doo Detective Mysteries. The show was like okay, from what I remember. Had some cool moments, by and large, mediocre. But there was a character in it that, like, couldn't lie.
Okay. They just, like, compulsively told the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like, it made for some fun moments, but by and large, it was kind of like, fucking cares. But Brett kind of does that all the time. He's just, like, this good guy. He's this very much a fish out of water. It's adorable.
He's unrepentantly nice.
And also, like, can't lie because, like, just, there's so many look, the thing I love about Brett Hand is there's so many undertones that are true for people that he just kind of announces, and while ridiculous, it just, like, it allows you to self-reflect.
I relate to that a lot more than I want to.
Yeah, well, it allows you, because it's so pronounced, it jumps the jumping the shark moment, right? Like, so it, like, evades it completely by going so far above it.
It goes the ostentatious route. Not ostentatious. It goes the completely conspicuous route. It's like, yeah, here it is.
Yeah. Like, what if I didn't try to put the... It's like presenting somebody with wrapping paper as a gift. They're like, oh, wow, this is oh, no, this is just wrapping paper. It's like, yeah, you needed wrapping paper, so I thought you would give you wrapping paper as a gift.
It's like, paper.
It's like, thanks. It's like so perplexing that your brain takes a second to be like, wait, what? It's every line with Brett Hand is just amazing.
Like, at one point, he just straight announces, he's like, I can't disappoint people.
It's like, I can't handle disappointing people. It's like, is that what is like?
I need people to like me.
Yeah. His intro is like Brett Hand willing to do anything for approval or something along those lines. It's like, that's his intro line. Is like, it's like, what? It's so great. It's just like, yeah, that's his character through and through.
You just hired on this agreeable yes man? Yes, man.
Yes, man.
It's so absurd. But at the same time, like, especially as he gets a little more dialogue, it goes a little bit off, like, the initial, like, completely blank. He starts to, you think he's just such a tabula rasa, like, he's just this blank slate. It's like, no, there is a little bit of person there, but it's like, it's max, like, it's the perfect mask for, like, social anxiety, where it's like, I need everyone to like me. And, like, yeah, the comment, like, he talks about Reagan about therapy. He's like, I cut my panic attacks in half. He's like super excited. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. It's so beautiful though. The way he's excited, the way he talks. I think one of the things that's kind of nice about this is the way this show, because of the dynamic they set in place via comedy and via the character Brett Hand, they're able to talk about like therapy and self-improvement in this show in a way that doesn't have to be like, I mean, sometimes it's couched in metaphor, or in like, I don't know how you would talk about the last episode when they go into the memory bank of Reagan, but it's like, it both is and isn't deep, in that it's like you're showing surface level somebody's memories and like the way they feel about things, but at the same time, like, there's more to unpack than meets the eye. That one's kind of like its own Rubik's Cube for me.
I think I can go into that a little bit. Well, like, one thing I do kind of want to mention that I found very funny, because there's a lot of allegory to, like, or not allegory, but like messaging around mental health in this show, and the kind of concept of overworking and stress, and the kind of caustic effect it takes on you, as well as not dealing with things as opposed to actually dealing with things. Like, so in the, it's like second or third episode, where they're going to the party with the lizard people, and she can't hug people, and so she makes fake arms to hug people. Awesome. She's like, I've solved all my problems without therapy, and it fucking blows up in her face. It's like, it's so true. Like, yeah, like, yeah, it works temporarily, and then something goes wrong, and it's way worse.
Yeah. Before we go on and I forget about it, my favorite line from Brett Hand is just like, it's like he's getting re-hazed by some dick fucking frat bros, and they're like, all right, time for you to confront your like greatest fears or something like that. He's like, fun fact, I stay up late at night because I
wonder if I have any kind of personality.
Well, no, it's like, I don't know what my favorite color is, and I'm worried I don't have a personality. And they're both just like, Jesus Christ! It's like, I don't know, there's something about that line that is so pure and honest and absurd at the same time. It's like,
the more you think about it, it does not match the tone it's given in. Like, at all. It's like, ha ha.
And I think that's like the kind of like a great litmus test. It's like, what do you think of that line? Do you think it's hilarious? You probably should watch the show. Do you think it's like horrifying? You can never giggle at it? You probably shouldn't watch the show.
Probably not. It is some dark fucking humor.
Yeah. So you were going to talk on like kind of allegories, something like that?
So I was going to kind of talk about like my sort of my interpretation, or some of the metaphor I think I see for the last episode. I mean, this is pure conjecture on my part, right?
By the way, where spoilers will be given, they are the show. I don't think spoiling the show is going to ruin it for you. If you want to stop, pause, and then go watch the show, it's not very long. It's 10 episodes, 30 minutes apiece.
20 minutes,
and they flow real fast. And also, I'm just going to say this, and this is going to be a bit of a hot take. If you don't like the 23-second intro to this show, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
and just never interact with me again. This is like my favorite show intro of all time. It slaps so goddamn hard.
Unapologetically like groove out to it every time it played.
Oh yeah. I was dancing high as shit naked last night before going to bed to that intro. Look, I didn't put it on to do that. I was just getting baked to go to bed.
It just happened.
Brushing my teeth and pressed play, and then went and brushed my teeth, and the intro came on. What was I going to do? Not rock out to it? Nah, it happened, and it was magical, and I regret nothing.
No, I had a problem when I was like on an elliptical watching it, just like distraction doing cardio, and whenever that would come on, I'd try to like groove to the beat of it. It just didn't match the pace I was going at, so it got really awkward for 20 seconds. I'm like, shit!
Pull my hamstring every fucking week.
Yeah, so in the last episode, they go into a literal memory bank. And you see that Reagan's memories have been tampered with. And she's been effectively pushed and used to be her dad's insurance policy. Also, I love the way her dad is the absolute worst. I love how unapologetic and just kind of harsh the voice of Christian Slater is for it. Like, he just like, God, you're terrible. He's like, yeah, and? Fuck you. Like,
yes. He's the perfect guy. Like, he works so well in this cartoon villainous world. It's like, he, like, occasionally tries to be a half-pass as a dad, but basically doesn't care, like, unless it, like, serves his function. Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure the only reason that he ever is trying to be a medium copy of a decent dad is so that Ridley doesn't just, like, evacuate him from his life.
Yeah.
Or from her life.
Like, at one point, his explanation for why he's a good dad is he gave her things and gave her good genes. That's the explanation. Like,
full stop.
He's the worst. He's awful.
Yeah, he's a hilariously obnoxious garbage fire. It's great.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And just because of how Christian Slater's voice never changes that I can think of. And it's just
he's sounded the same for like 30 years.
Yeah, like Christian Slater's voice is just very sharp. It's very harsh. Yeah. It's great. Anyway, so her memory's been tampered with because Christian Slater's the worst and wants her to be an insurance policy for him. I kind of
and like a Frankenstein's monster that can be like, look what I made, isn't it awesome?
Yeah, like it's horrifying.
He's proud of his child in the worst reasons possible.
Yeah,
in the worst ways.
He's proud that she's capable. He's annoyed that she has a friend and might be normal. Yeah, like he sees her having a friend as just this wild inconvenience to his plan for her. Like that's the caveat. It's his plan for her. At no point is she allowed to get her own agency. And so it's like it's this kind of horrifying thought, like take on kind of grooming and setting expectations for people. And it's like the gross lengths people will go to ensure that what I think is best for you is gonna happen. It's like there's people that do that. Like you hear accounts of like people who are super pushed into sports and stuff, like to be Olympians. Yep. Like later, like I didn't want this. I just felt like I didn't have a choice to get out. And it's like,
I mean, what is it? Is it Toddlers and Tiaras, right? I mean, it's like
Jesus, yeah. There's shit like that is even more horrifying.
That kind of shit to like a different that is the most base level But like you're saying with like athletics or academics, it's just
there's so many people that like when they're older and have their own agency, they're like, God, I didn't really want that, did I? Like, and they're so, and this is just that ratcheted to 15, you know?
Yeah.
But that's kind of my take on it. There's like the extremes people go to because I think I know what's best for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's like
mech. They're like mech driving their kids. They're like, you're gonna do this,
and it's like, I don't wanna. And it's like sometimes, and it starts with kind of an initial healthy, I think this is what's best for her, but it's like when pushed back on and people decide to say no, I'm right and make the unilateral decision is where it gets super ugly. Because Ridley says no, I like him. He's my friend. Like a kid would do, because kids are supposed to, have social circles.
Yeah.
And that kind of social growth that comes with, peer-to-peer connection. He's like, but that doesn't fit for what I want you to do. It's clearly, it draws that line where it's like, oh, that's bad. That's so bad.
I love the way that works in the episode too, is that so the episode starts off with Barrow, this bot that was designed to give her hugs so that her father wouldn't have to. Horrifying.
Because, his rationale is he gives you a hug because I'm never around. It's just Jesus Christ.
Let's unpack that volcano of awful.
Yeah.
But so there's that character that then sees something that is good in her life as being bad
Yeah.
because well, I don't really remember why. It
I'd
doesn't
say
matter.
he rationalizes that her being at the job is bad for her
Oh yeah.
because she like gets no sleep. She doesn't take care of herself. She doesn't have like friends reliably. All this
Hmm.
stuff like it did like super objective. Like a computer was to be like, these are the health things that are good for you, and you're not doing them.
Which there is some resonance there
Yeah, it's like
of like, oh, it's not that wrong, but
it's
at the
like
same time,
he
it
has
getting to like make
points.
the getting to make the like hard and fast rules is like a little horrifying, which is a great. There's a lot of great metaphors and kind of like through lines in the show, but so it's made this decision. They have to deal with it, so they go in the memory banks to find out what the password is to turn off Barrow, so that they can because it's destroying, like
It
it's
is
like
wrecking
killing
shop.
everybody. Yeah, it turns out Reagan's dad can make a damn good robot.
Awful
Um,
person, great engineer.
Yeah, can't make a good kid. Can make a great robot. Story checks out. So they go into the memory banks and they find out that the password via Brett Hand, which I love. I do love as sometimes as ridiculous as it is. I do love it when and I love the fact that he's legitimately a Hufflepuff because that's what I was going to say anyway. Because there's an episode where they just like they're going to the lizard people place. It's like, and remember, what's your favorite Harry Potter house? And everybody's the Slytherin, and Brett Hand being Brett Hand goes Hufflepuff, which just tracks in every sense of the way. It just tracks. But since he like it showing that it doesn't always take the bravest, but it takes the people that care the most. Because Brett makes a bad decision and doesn't do what he's told and ends up going into Reagan's memory bank because he's told to like stand watch or whatever. But I don't remember why he goes in, but he ends up going in for a good reason. He's not just like bored and
He's the
fucking around.
best of intentions.
Yeah, best of intentions.
I think
Goes
he's
in.
worried that it's taking too long or something like that.
Yeah, it's something understandable, but just like no, just stay put. But it's very important that he does. And he goes in and he just wanders in and sees he's looking for them, doesn't find them, ends up running into Reagan when she's graduating high school at like 12 or whatever, and he's nice to her. And he just sits and talks with her. And he's Brett Hand, he's weird, and she's like weirded out by him, and he's weirded out because she's like 12 and already
Smarter
starting to
than
go.
him.
Well, is smarter, but also like kind of like he's socially awkward in one way, and she's socially
Awkward in another.
damaged in another.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun to watch them bounce off each other, even at that age where they're probably the most close to being equals. When she's 12 and he's like 30. Uh, and she tells him what his password or what her password is. And it's the name of the kid that she's not allowed to be friends with. Because it's at this time, it's when she has the friend or when she's thinking about having the friend, but before it gets erased from her memory.
Well, no,
Which is why she can't.
it's her memory of her friend has been erased. There's like she doesn't remember why she sets it as all of her passwords,
Oh, okay, she doesn't. Yeah.
but
But that's
she
it turns
just
out.
remembers it's like important to her for some reason, so it's always her password.
Yeah, and it's the name of this kid that she wasn't allowed to be friends with because he was really basic.
Yeah.
And the dad wasn't cool with that because it was going to slow her down.
Yep.
Because everything for him is about perfection and progression. And because of that, he ends up saving the day. And it's always, as hokey as it is, I feel like this time, for whatever reason, maybe it's because it's comedy, maybe it's just because I'm jaded and it's always nice to see good things, but it was really cool to see, you know, it's not always the best and the brightest that get shit done. Sometimes it takes somebody who's nice and just listens,
Yeah.
goes and is a good guy. Because as much as Brett Hand is a fucking sad sack, one of the through lines is even though he's like this guy that, he went to, he just like pledged every frat and is just like a mega frat bro. And I think this is like one of the ways in which it picks on him and it also doesn't because it's like part of Brett Hand's character is that he's this guy that pledged every frat, and he's a frat bro in the more pathetic ways, but not in the bad ways. He doesn't know how to make friends, or he does know how to make friends. He doesn't know how to like understand boundaries and like being taken advantage of, but he does understand how to be a good friend and like put up with probably way too much. So like it kind of it takes some of the good and some of the bad and makes this like you said Labrador of a human being. And it's just like he's just so pure. Like
Yeah.
he's such a good guy
There
that just
is
got
no
damaged by the
ulterior
system.
motive. None.
No. Yeah, he's just through and through. He just wants to like when they find out. My favorite, one of the best episodes, is when they find out they have to fire somebody. He's like, "Yeah, I can do that." They're like, "All right, don't tell the group that we have to fire somebody." And he immediately, like the next scene, he's him running in. We have to fire somebody. And just, like, throws up because he can't stand. He can't. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He can't stand disappointing somebody, and he can't stand not telling the truth. And so he has to do both. And so he has to like punish himself on both axes. He's just so fucking.
Sorry. Also, quick note: the sound capture of me making the vomiting sound is hilarious. Anyway.
Oh yeah. No yeah.
Well, like I think the first time he throws up too is like in Reagan's tote bag, and she's just like
yeah, like
annoyed.
right after getting told that they have to fire somebody. Yeah, it'll be no problem. Whoa. That was my tote bag, but yeah. Also love he's such a like 13-year-old in a 30-year-old man's body. Like they're looking around or his office when he gets brought in. He goes, "Oh, a neuralizer. I always wanted one of these since I saw Men in Black." That's a tampon. Like, he's like, it's just like it's creeped out by it, just drops it immediately. It's like it's so
it's
adorable.
immediately like, oh god.
Yeah. Anything else we want to, glorifyingly talk about?
I do want to take a quick second and appreciate the absolute cartoonish absurdity of the other side characters in the core group.
Okay.
Because like you have, oh my god, why do I keep blanking on this man's name? John DiMaggio as the most absurd Republican trope ever.
Oh, that's who plays that character?
Yeah, it's John DiMaggio. I knew I recognized it because it's the same voice he uses for Fry's dad in Futurama.
Oh, that's funny.
I was like...
Also tracks. Basically
yeah, pretty much the same guy. Except instead of football, he just loves high-powered explosives. No, he's this cartoonish fucking stereotype. It's hilarious.
Half mad, half Republican, half dolphin.
Yeah, like at one point they're doing karaoke and he gets up to sing "Proud to be an American," and everyone just groans. It's like the 30th
for like
time.
the 5th time,
and he's just like, "Clapper, you're a traitor." Like, he's so over the top. It's outstanding. Yeah. You have the absurd degenerate with their like chemist who is like always taking from his own supply. He's this absolute sexual deviant. Like, and there's so many times. I think my favorite moments of his is at the end of like the Bond episode, where like the villain comes back and he's.
Oh yeah.
And it's like it quickly devolves to super. He's like, first I'm going to laser off your testicles. The Bond stands like, and then what? Like excited, and everyone's like, let's get out of here before it gets too awkward. And he pulls up a chair. He's like, I'd like to watch.
Yeah, it's Bobby Lee.
It's like,
who I love that character. It's played by Bobby Lee. I would argue he's not really voice acting as much as just giving his voice and his feel. The guy is kind of like I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he is like very much that like in all the bits of podcasts I've seen that he's been on, he's kind of just that guy. So I think he was a lot typecast.
Okay.
While we're talking about voices, JR by Andy Daly is just Andy Daly's voice is always that voice. Is the same guy that did King of Ooh in Adventure Time. And it's just like he's got that voice and he never needs to change it because it's just so perfect. It just works so amazingly for that character. You got Clark Duke as Brett Hand. Clark Duke is the one of the two best friends in the first Kick-Ass, and trying to remember the other thing that I know him from.
Is he the guy in Sex Drive?
He was in Sex Drive.
Okay, that's the other place I do.
He's the character that looks the least likely to get laid and somehow is the best friend who always does get laid. Yeah, that's just funny. But like he is like the stud of the group, which is hilarious because he doesn't look like he should be, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's all about mindset. He's also the guy in Hot Tub Time Machine. Is like the other place that people
he's
probably know
like
him from.
the kind of kid, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's the youngest of like the 4 or 5 of them.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't really realize it's him. I'm glad it's him because I love Clark Duke, so I thought that was pretty great. Oh, I didn't realize this. Brett Gelman is Magic Mike. Brett Gelman is actually in, I think, both shows he's in both shows that we're gonna wreck this week, which is fucking hilarious. I didn't realize that. Through lines.
Gelman.
And then Robotus is played by Chris. I can't say your last name. Diamantopola. Fucking Jesus. How many syllables is that?
Oh,
anyway.
That's Brett Gelman. Okay. Huh.
Yeah. Brett Gelman's great. I love Brett Gelman. His character in the show, I'm kind of medium on. It's like a trope of a character, but it plays.
It works fine. Like, he's probably the weakest part of the show, in my opinion. But he's fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's the weakest part, and it's fine.
Yeah, the weakest part is like a B+. It's like, it's fine. It's just like, it works. Super hokey and tropey. But yeah, it plays. I love the character of... She doesn't get as much, like, kind of fun time, but I do love the character of Gigi, where she's, like, media manipulation. Like, when she gets to, like, throw her hat around, it's, like, pretty freaking hilarious. She's like, yeah, we could just, like, totally, like... like, in the situations where she's given a cleanup job for a circumstance, and the way...
I had to release nudes of Prince Charles. Nobody liked that. Also, at the risk of sounding kind of racist, she has the perfect fucking sassy black woman voice, like the constant cutback on it.
I mean, it's Tisha Campbell.
Okay.
Look at her, and you'll see that she is exactly that person.
I'm sorry, say the name again.
Tisha Campbell. Tisha.
Oh yeah, no, that shit tracks. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
They cartooned her up a little bit, but she just looks like her own character a lot.
I'm thinking the voice, looking at that person, like, almost exactly what I imagine you look like. So, okay. It's one of the few voice actors that's actually stuck for. It's like that and John DiMaggio. It's like, oh, that tracks. That's kind of who I imagined you'd look like. Admittedly, it did screw with me. My last note on the show, it screwed with me so much looking at Brett Hand, because he looks so much like Fry. The first 2 episodes I watched, I kept wanting his voice to be Billy West.
Oh, that's funny. That would have made the show a lot worse, to be fair, which is an insane thing to say, that Billy West would have made the show worse.
Billy West has a lot of range, so maybe.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess Billy West could probably sound like Clark Duke if he wanted to. But I really liked the voice that they got
phenomenal. Like, it fits super well. Like, I'm pretty sure Billy West could have managed something.
Yeah.
I
understand that. Luckily, I haven't watched even a pittance of how much Futurama you've watched. That is not a... Yeah. I've watched a gob of it. You've watched The Mountain.
I've watched The Mountain more than once.
Yeah. Anywho, do we want to give this a grady datey?
I would give Inside Job a solid B+, A-.
I think for me it's the same. It's an A-. There's, there's little things that it's not A+, all time, but it's pretty damn close.
I will undernote, if they're season 2's coming out, I'm and I will watch this.
Yeah,
immediately.
I think I have to imagine there's season 2 because I feel like it's
coming out this year.
Oh, sick!
I think Q2, so the next couple of months. It's on the horizon. I remember being very, very close to when I finished watching it. I was like, oh, dope.
Yeah. No, it's super good, super fun. It doesn't have that for me that kind of one of the only shows that I can that is in the same vague ballpark is Ted Lasso has the same amount of comedy per second kind of thing, but that one has a much stronger story, much stronger characters. So that's why that one gets an A+, where this one gets an A-. This is still very good, and I will snap watch it. I have a friend. I've watched this show through twice. I have a friend coming over who's I like watching the show, but I'd like to watch it with you in person. And I'm not like, no, you should watch it on your own. I've already seen it twice. I'm like, cool. Like, I'll
Yeah,
just snap watch it all again. Yeah, it's totally fine. Like, the show is awesome.
it's great.
So yeah, this is highly recommend checking this show out if it sounds like your bag. Like, if a show actually had physical sheeple that were half sheep, half people, and that sounds like something that you would find funny, you should watch this show.
Just so I can have a callback to them saying, "Wake up, sheeple."
Yeah, the fact that they did that is like, it's not genius, but it's pretty close. I love that. I love the fact that they like thought to like manifest it and show them early so that they could make that line later and then like have it as like a quasi callback, because in the first episode you see somebody literally herding sheeple through like the office area. But it's not like recognized. They don't say anything about it. You just like, if you're paying attention, you see like a flock of sheeple like getting like herded through the atrium. It's so great. All right. And with that glorious review, we shall throw it to an odd break. And see you in a moment.
Don't you just hate being a weird social outcast? Don't you wish that you were suave, had women or men falling all over you for no particular reason other than you're present? Do you wish that you had superpowers? Or were simply OP AF, just for existing? Well, that kind of wish for social status and ability can be fulfilled with isekai, the most power trip trope anime nerds have clamored to in recent years. Chock full of self-insert protagonists, you can numb your mind and avoid thinking about responsibilities or your crippling social anxiety while you ponder life's greatest question to date. Wouldn't it all just be better if I was reborn somewhere else? Probably not. And welcome back, everybody, to Super Pros Bows.
Did you just switch the B and the P?
I think I did. Super
That
Bows.
sounds dirtier. Also, having
Bose Pros. Not sure if it's a consultation for my headphones or.
Is it weird that also does the phrase switching the B and the P sound dirty to you? Because it sounds dirty to me. I can't figure out why. Okay. I just got a dirty mind.
You props. Seek help.
Okay. And on this dirty mind this week, I've got a pitch for you.
What do you got for us?
I've got The Cop and the Capitalist.
Alright.
So, the story starts out with a disheveled, well-dressed man walking on an overpass at early morning, and then through a large gap fence onto the fencing before potentially jumping off the overpass into oncoming traffic. But as he's about to take potentially his last step, a cane-carrying ex-cop greets him sardonically. From that point, the story rewinds back to how the capitalist got into business, lost his way ethically, and couldn't find his way back, and wanted to end it all. Then he meets up with the ex-cop in the present. They meet many mornings, sharing stories, giving each other advice. The capitalist mulls over his advice and decides to do something about this ethics issue in his business. Next day, the cop drinks alone and finds out the capitalist is no more. With this info, the cop must investigate and bring down whoever has done this to his new friend. Ta-da! I've always been a big fan of switching vantage points, like especially when unexpected, which arguably is potentially a weak point, but I really enjoy the idea of, you know, you've talked about, there was a story you read before where, you know, it's all this one guy's POV and then he dies and it just switches POV. And so I kind of like the idea of kind of ping-ponging, you know, starting with the capitalist perspective, getting all that story always being his POV, and then kind of potentially like doing this subtle switch of perspective in the middle where it kind of, you know, it's all capitalist and then it starts ping-ponging back and forth, going more and more towards cop, and then it's just cop, and you're like, oh, why? Oh, he's dead.
He's dead, Jim.
And also just the idea of like changing, because in both of these the characters get to change. You know, the capitalist gets to decide away from despair towards, forgiveness and repair, which does lead to his demise, but that isn't what he was going for.
Yeah.
So while he steps away from death, he ends up finding it, even though he goes in a better direction. And then the cop, while trying just to be a friend, he has to, trying to stay away from the business. And this is going to come up in like the conversations that they have, is that the reason he got out of being a cop is because it wasn't about helping people.
Yeah.
It was about, keeping up the status quo, and he didn't think that was good anymore. And the reason he's there is actually to prevent the death that, the character is attempting. That's the reason he sits there every morning. It's a nice way for him to start the day and maybe remember a case or something like that. I think there's going to be some connective tissue to that spot to him.
Yeah.
But for him to go back and do what it was about the job that he liked so much, which is to help people and, see that the people who do bad are held accountable.
Okay. Yeah.
Literally thought of this the other day while walking over an overpass. It's a very fun bolt of lightning to the brain.
I mean,
what about you? What you got cooking in the old cabeza?
So, tentative titling of either cost of power or price of power, if I feel like being alliterative.
Price of power.
Just for that, cost. This is again super rough brain baby, but I was kind of inspired watching forever ago Full Metal Alchemist, the idea of equivalent exchange. So what if magic was real and it had an actual cost?
Oh, I believe I know where this is going, and I am here for this.
Well, so there's a couple questions. Like, one, do rich people stay rich, or could it almost be like an addiction to gambling, or addiction to just blowing shit up, or doing crazy things just bankrupts you? Because if you can't use it to print money, you do exhaust it, and so like fiat currency goes out quickly. So there's a lot of kind of what does the actual price look like? Does it bankrupt you? You could probably have any revenge fantasy you wanted if you just had enough money to front it.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much does social capital matter if you know someone who can buy spells for you or willing to pitch in on one common cause? And the notion of upsetting and constantly shifting value of currency because so much of it's gone, or is it printed and devalued? Is it back to a kind of barter system? I kind of wonder what happens to economies if you're siphoning out because, well, you can do pyrotechnics. And when does the irresponsible spending stop?
Mm-hmm.
Because that some rich people are going to do dumb shit with it just because we can. Versus at what point does it need to be deliberate and thoughtful? Like if there's famine, do we need to suddenly start pooling money so that we can actually ensure there's enough to eat for people? Or will rich people be assholes and try and gatekeep? What happens if you get a bunch of people pitting together what they can to just have said rich person die one night? Then what happens to their money? How's it get distributed? Where's that power vacuum go?
Mm-hmm.
If anyone can just buy magic, who's the most powerful person?
Mm-hmm. And how does it manifest itself in the society, right?
Yeah, and kind of, do people try and regulate it? Does there try to be some kind of oversight, necessarily?
There's a lot of good metaphors that this leads to the potential. This is really, really cool. This has the opportunity, if you want it to be super deep.
I think when I wrote it down, it's this isn't something that could ever be short.
No, this seems like something that is long and definitely you're gonna want to storyboard about it 1,000 times to make sure that the through lines hold water.
Yeah,
This definitely seems like one of those ones that you have to be kind of you have to have a rule and stick with it.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure the rule isn't going to get stupid. You know, it's like this is one of those ones where like the kind of next leveling, that kind of like anime problem of like, well, he's got to be bigger and better than the next guy. It's like at some point then you get to like blowing up the world, and that can get kind of like, depending how long the series you want it to go. Like it's definitely one of those ones that could make one really dope book where the ending is like, you know, some anarchist paying enough to get like a bomb that destroys the planet, or you know, something like that, and then like that's how you end it, is like a cautionary tale of, you know, money and might or something like that. Or it's one that you have to like very much rock paper scissors a lot of interactions so that like you can like keep going. But it definitely has like a lot of cool metaphorical area to cover and just like story that
there's also just a lot of like leeway and a lot of character, like, because I mean also the second you walk away from people, it's like you can do a lot of cost of character. It's like, do I trust him not to do something stupid if I give him money? Do I trust that guy not to screw me over because he's the one who's holding it? Like,
so do I trust that the spell I bought is actually going to work and that I didn't just get like, you know, fleeced?
What I don't know is how I do that. If it's like, you know, everyone has a spell book and like there's literally just like amounts of like gold or dollar bills you have to chuck into the center, and just like literally is eaten. Because I want it to actually just be like consumed. Like it is like a reagent that has to disappear.
Oh, like the whole idea of alchemy.
Yeah.
Where you can like make gold or whatever like that. Do that in the inverse where like magic eats gold.
Exactly.
And like it's like antimatter. That would be really that makes it very kind of interesting. Yeah. I feel like there's a metaphor in and of itself right there, but I can't quite unpack.
Yeah, and maybe it's, I mean, maybe magic is like basically making a pact with something outside our world. I don't know if it has to be the devil. Well, like it just you know, just some weird dark like finger grabs it and does something for you. Like
yeah, that's really cool. What time period are you think you're setting this in?
That one I don't know either, because I feel like it's got legs either in like kind of medieval Europe, easy fantasy setting, right? Like feudal Europe, oppressed masses, people want to get even, sure, and you've got rich socialite douchebags who have all the money. Or, I mean, shit, that still works modern, because too much of what I just said still stayed the same.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, exactly.
You could also go future, too. Like, it doesn't... It would be a different kind of, like, cyberpunk, but, like, you could, like... I don't know. It's one of those tale as old as time kind of things. Also, there's a fun aspect of like doing like what happens if you try to give this nether magic god fake gold, or you know, like if you try to like trick him or something like that.
Like,
you know, like what happens?
Have people trying to like peddle pyrite or some shit.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know. I assume that there's a hefty penalty for that. You can't fuck with this and get away with it for sure.
No, for sure. But like it's like a fun area to explore.
Yeah.
That sounds super cool.
Okay.
All right. Well, from one cool pitch to one cool property, what rec you got this week?
I've got a little bit of a throwback. It's Stranger Things. Throwback like 4 years ago. Whatever.
What strange thing is it?
Especially like there's a lot of. So some would argue there's some decline with the show as it goes, but especially season 1, Stranger Things is phenomenal. Yeah, we had dissenting opinions before the show started. We're not going to get into it.
No, we are not.
But the first season of the show is phenomenal. It is
Bang
so
City.
Good. And my wife has been rewatching it the last 2 days, and so I've kind of ended up sitting watching some of it with her. I was like, man, look how fucking good the first season is. God damn. Like, so
it's so tight.
Like there's a few like they don't use many, but like there's a couple jump scares like I know we're coming, and I'm like, when's it gonna hit? I was like, oh, god damn it, there it was. Okay. So it's so good. I argue that the later seasons are still pretty good. They're still pretty worth watching. They've got some dubious stuff to them, but it's still very enjoyable. A lot of decently reasonable character drama. The character cast chemistry is really good. Um, I think it's a good time. At least watch season 1. Treat yourself to that if you magically haven't.
Yeah.
Watch the social phenomena that was that first season.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to watch more, watch more. It's still pretty well received by most people.
Then you can see Brett Gelman as the reporter in season 2, who was Magic Mike in Inside Job.
I did not know that was the same guy.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I hear it now, but I didn't realize it then.
It's funny. What do you got for the audience this week? What would you recommend?
Mine is one of my favorite shows of all time. Is another social phenomenon that is Fleabag. It's just it is one of my favorite shows of all time. It was clearly made for a female audience, and I think that shows, but not in a negative way. Like there's some shows or some, pieces of art I've seen. It's like this was made by a woman for women, and that's fine. And sometimes it's not my cup of tea. Sometimes it is. This one was made by a woman, I would presume for women, and it makes so little difference to me because this is just, oh my gosh. It's just one of my favorite things of all time. The way that the art is kind of shown, it breaks the fourth wall in like such a different kind of way. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is the creator, she made this a one-woman show on. I'm trying to remember, it's somewhere in England because that is where the show is set, and that's where she's from. It's not off Broadway, but it's something akin to that. It wasn't like it was a one-woman show that she did. And then she made it into a TV show, did one season. And the insane thing to me, because this was such a huge hit, it popped so hard socially, is that she was offered, I think by Amazon initially. I don't know if she did it on Amazon first, but the second season she did for Amazon. But does the first season, and people were like, oh, please, we'll pay you so much money to make more. And she's like, no, that's it. That feels right. That's the ending of this character. For this character, it's done. It's like the artistic purity to get offered that much to do something where you had full control, because I think she was the writer, director, creator. Like she did like everything, and it just like slapped, and she got to basically say whatever she wanted. Like if you watch the show, I don't know what they were cutting, if anything, because like of what is on screen, but. To get offered this, and she's like, nah, I don't think it's right for this. And like, she looks at it as a creation that, she's kind of speaking on behalf of. But then sometime later, she's like found something else that she wanted to do with it. Some kind of, furthering of the story. It came back, did one season again afterwards, it crushed. They came back. They're like, oh, you got to make more. And she's like, no, I think it's done, in quotes for now. Yeah. But, got the whole entire cast back. Also had Brett Gelman as her sister's god-awful husband, which is just... He does such a great job of acting it, but holy fuck is it easy to hate him. Woo! He is...
The worst.
He is asshole incarnate. It is... Damn. God, that's annoying. But it is just... Oh my gosh. It is so good. It has Olivia Colman being the bamf that she is. It's like... So good. In season 2, we have one of my favorite actors, and I believe yours as well, Andrew Scott, playing the priest. Andrew Scott, previously known to most people as Moriarty in Sherlock.
I don't know him for much, but I did love him in that role. That's like my only real exposure to him.
He is so good. So in season 2, he plays a priest. It's pretty early established. He's the love interest of the main character for season 2. The way he plays the character in season 2 is like nothing I've ever seen. It's so beautiful. It's not this like, look, religion is good, or look, religion is bad. It's like, look, religion has people and they're not bad people. And I don't know. He's like, he loves being a priest and he nerds out over it. And I really respect content that respects nerding out over stuff and like not making fun of somebody because they enjoy something wholeheartedly. Like at one point he is geeking out over a piece of priestly garb he has acquired and how it's like so cool. And it's like, this is the dorkiest thing I've ever seen. And the way they show it and the way they show the characters interacting about it, it's beautiful. It's pure. It's just like, yeah, he loves being a priest. And I'm not going to spoil the ending because I don't want to. It's one of the best shows of all time. It's fucking short as hell. 2 seasons, 6 episodes apiece, 30 minutes apiece. You can do it in an afternoon without breaking a sweat. And it is, I think it's, I don't know of a show that is better than this one. Is like all-time banger, not close. Not for everyone. Hits a little hard. If you are in any way prudish, you are probably going to want to avoid the show. Literally, episode 1 starts off with a sex scene. It's not, I don't think there's a single piece of nudity in the show. They shoot it in a very kind of reserved way, but the content is, to say it's explicit, is to say the sky is blue. It is just, wow. Like, it's not something you'll watch with a grandma who voted red last season. Like, 100% she's going to take her walker and run from the room. Like, she is not going to sit for that. But if you were at all in the middle or the left, by and large, I think you are going to enjoy the hell out of the show. It explores a lot of fun venues. The writing is damn good. I cannot, as clearly as this is sounding, recommend this enough. It is just all time. Oh. Like, I think this is a show that I would get it if I could guarantee they didn't make another episode, so there's no chance it gets like bad, although I doubt it would. I think I would get a tattoo of something from this show. It is just that good. I do not have a single tattoo on my body, and I am scared of needles and a wimp when it comes to pain. But that is how much I love this show. All right. Love rant over.
So you good? You change your pants?
I might need to after this. It's just like, man, I literally, it's like I'm in perpetual like honeymoon mode with this show. I've watched it 3 times, and I've never been like, I think I've watched it enough. Like, no, I could just instantly watch it again. It's so great. It's like you with Futurama. It's just fair. Like it's your bae. There's no point you're gonna be like, I mean, it's okay. You're like, no, it's fucking Futurama, bro.
Shut your mouth.
You do not talk bad about my boy. Anyway, before we bring it to a close, I do have one last rec, which is The Outside by 21 Pilots. I recently found out they made 2 albums while I wasn't paying attention. It's been years, but I just wasn't paying attention. There's a song that is called The Outside, and it's just fun, poppy, schlocky goodness. Listen to it, puts a smile on my face, puts a pep in my step, gets me out the door wanting to go walkies. This is great. It's fun. Can't get out of my... I've been listening to it like for the last week, basically on repeat.
Well,
so yeah, check that out if you want some pep in your step. And with that, I believe we are at the close of the episode.
Yeah, that is our episode. So thank you all for tuning in. And if you enjoyed it, please feel free to
like,
comment,
share,
and subscribe.
And don't forget, new episodes of Super Pros Bros come out the 1st and 3rd Saturday of every month. Bye. I think we almost ended the exact same time there. Look at us go.
That's pretty close.
And Shank, not Backstreet Boys.